I'm Justin Mott, and welcome to my home in Hanoi, Vietnam. And if you're new here, my channel is dedicated to all things photography from the perspective of a full-time working professional photographer. And today I'm going to talk about gear, specifically street photography gear that I use. Now, this might not be the right gear for you. It probably isn't the right gear for you. That might seem like a weird thing to say, but it's true. We're all so different as photographers. We have a different approach. We're looking for different things. We have a different methodology on how we like to work. So I don't know if this is going to be the right thing for you. And also, I just want to add too, gear isn't the answer. Gear's not going to get you out of that slump. Going out and shooting is going to get you out of that slump. But it's still fun to talk about gear sometimes. So I figured I'd share what I use. So if that sounds like your thing, stay tuned to see what gear I use for my street photography. All right, guys, as always, don't forget to check out my online store at justinmott.com, where I've got presets, I've got one-on-one coaching sessions. I've also got framed prints available for shipping within the US and Canada. And then also, guys, don't forget to check out my new membership program. My channel is still free. I'll still have the same amount of content that I've had always, but now I've got my membership program for you guys out there that want to support the channel. It's $4.99 a month. But it's not just that. You're not just supporting me. You're getting extra content as well. I will have a weekly live stream for members only. I'll have member priority in the comment section, so your questions will be answered first. And you can become a member by just hitting the join button below. So before I talk about the gear, let me talk a little bit about what I'm looking for, or rather what I'm not looking for. When I go out to shoot, yes, if I'm doing an assignment and I'm doing street photography within my assignment, I'm probably looking for images, not probably, I'm definitely looking for images that relate to the theme of that story. If it's a business story, economy story, a travel story, sure, I need to make my street photography images relevant to the story I'm trying to tell, the story the writer's trying to tell. Yes, of course. But when I'm shooting street photography for myself, I try to go out without any preconceived notions. I try to let pictures come to me. I let the scene come to me. So I'm looking for photos to present themselves to me. I'm not going in with any ideas about what the photo should be. I'm looking for light. I'm looking for moments. I'm looking for interesting compositions and backgrounds and things to just kind of present themselves to me. I'm not saying like, oh, I need the guy walking through the shaft of light. Oh, I need this juxtaposition of this, this, and this. No, I just kind of go in with an open mind. And I get my best shots when I'm curious. That's really it. That's what I should say. That's the important thing. Whenever I'm curious, not just when I'm curious, but when I follow that curiosity, that's when I get my most interesting street shots. Those are the kind of shots that take me down that alleyway. Those are the shots that make me go a little bit earlier and stay a little bit later and follow a little scene and ask questions and wait on things and sit on things and, let my mind wander like, oh, what are they doing here? What happens if I go down there? So that's it. That's kind of what I would say for my street photography. That's my advice there. Before I get into the gear, like, be curious and follow that curiosity, and you'll get really cool shots. Don't go in with any shots in your head already, preconceived notions of what the shot should be. Just be open-minded, be curious, and follow that curiosity. Also, my approach to street photography gear is less is more. Now, sometimes I'm going out to just shoot like around Hanoi, and I might just take a camera and maybe a bag, or maybe even no bag. But most of the time when I'm going out and shooting, this is gonna be the kit that I use. Now, since I'm a professional, I like to have two of everything, or at least two cameras, because it's just kind of good practice to have backups of things. But again, I don't wanna be carrying a lot with me, because I don't wanna be weighed down by gear, not just physically, but mentally as well. So you'll see my Leica camera I'm gonna use here. I have other Leica lenses that I might use on an assignment when I need them, but when I go out and shoot for myself, I'm gonna go with mainly one camera, one lens, and then one backup camera. So we'll start with the camera, and that's kind of fits my minimalistic approach, and I go with my Leica M10D here. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is a Leica M10. It's a digital camera, not a film camera, but it doesn't have a screen. It's a very expensive camera without a screen, and you might say to yourself, why do you want a digital camera without a screen? Why not just shoot film? Well, to be honest, I don't like post-production. I don't like the post-production process of doing film. I don't even like the post-production process of doing digital really much at all. If you've seen my work before, if you've seen some of my little Lightroom tutorials, I'm toning my images like very quickly in Lightroom. I'm not spending a lot of time here. I want to spend more time out there. So I want a simple camera with a simple menu system or no menu system, and basically just a camera that keeps me very present and in the moment. I do use other cameras for my commercial work and things like that, but what I love about this system, and not just the design and the ergonomics, although that is important to me, if I'm going out to shoot street, I just want something comfortable, in, not just in my hand too, but also around my neck and in my bag. Something not too heavy, but not too flimsy as well, and this sort of finds that balance. Pick up a Leica M series camera and you'll fall in love, I think. And also, yeah, the quality on this camera, I like it, but I'm not gonna say, oh, it's like that much better than all these other cameras out there. Yes, I do love the rendering of the lenses, and I'll get to that shortly about which lens I choose and why, but I like the simplicity of this camera. It turns on, it turns off. I've got shutter, I've got aperture, and I've got my ISO, and that's all I have to think about. So I can go out there and just shoot. Oh, it's also a camera, once you tape it up, I put my little gaffer tape on the top, you know, people don't really think much about it. Also, people aren't like looking at the screen, so they don't like take me as serious. So it kind of opens a lot of doors for me, allows me to get closer, allows me to blend in more. It allows me not to look like a photographer. So, you know, I fell in love with this camera. Again, it's an expensive investment. It works for me. I don't mind shooting manual focus. I know my exposure, so it was never really a problem for me. But I borrowed this camera. I was lucky enough to borrow this camera from Leica Singapore a couple years ago. I borrowed it for a day, shot with it for a day, wandered all around Singapore, like 24 hours, and I fell in love with it. I knew right away, like, this is what I wanted. And I've never looked back. I absolutely love this camera. It's a bummer they don't make it anymore. There's still a few of us out there that have it. So this is my go-to street photography camera. I also use this for my personal projects as well. And then as far as a lens here, I go with the Leica 35 Semilux 1.4. I like the focal length of a 35mm for street photography because I also like to incorporate portraits when I do street photography, and I like environmental portraits. I like horizontal portraits, and a 35 works really well for me. I like that it's a 1.4 lens because if I want to shoot in real low light situations, I don't have to worry about flash. I don't use flash in any of my work, so it's just kind of perfect for low light. The size is perfect. The feel is perfect. It's a high quality lens. It's not something I'm gonna have to like upgrade later on. So this is my go-to combination for camera and lens. A Leica M10D and a Leica 35mm 1.4 Semilux lens. This is honestly perfect for me. Now, because I'm a professional, but I think amateurs should do this as well, it's just a good habit to get into, is I like to always travel with a backup camera, but I want to travel light. And I don't want my backup camera to just be the same as my regular camera. That's boring to me, and it's expensive in this situation, right? And I don't shoot often with two lenses at the same time, so there's no real need for it to be exactly the same. So I like my backup camera to be, yes, as an emergency if something goes wrong with this camera, but I also like to have it for different functions or different reasons. So that's why I go with the Ricoh GR3, and I dig this little camera. At about, I think after tax and shipping, it's like an $800 camera. Yes, this little viewfinder costs like a ridiculous amount of money. It's like $250, but you can get a cheaper one. But I dig this camera. One, the quality of the files in this camera is fantastic. For this little tiny little deal right here for $800, I've had images from this camera published in the New York Times, no problem. Editors didn't know. I didn't tell them. Don't tell them. Not that I'm hiding anything, but it's just like a camera. They might like look down upon me because I'm using it, but they didn't notice, and the images were published and they look great, and I've printed images from this camera. But it's not just that. It's not just a backup. It's also very small compared to this. Yes, the Leica is already small, but this camera is significantly smaller. This can fit in your pockets unless you're like a skinny jeans guy. But even if you're a skinny jeans guy with a little bit of flex, like I've been experimenting with that as I've lost some weight, skinny jeans with like a tiny bit of stretch in there, these can pull it off. Not like tight, super skinny jeans, but fat guy skinny jeans, this can work. So I like it for that. I like that it can fit in my pocket. I like that it's a backup camera, but I use it also in a different way. I use this as my dedicated black and white camera. Sometimes I'm in the mood to shoot black and white, and sometimes I want to see in real time what it looks like in black and white. So I set this camera to the high contrast black and white filter so I can see it right there live when I take pictures. It's still shot in RAW, so if I change my mind later on, it's no problem, but I like that function. I know a lot of you out there that shoot with Leica, you're interested in the M monochrome or the Q monochrome, but you don't want to make the full plunge into that because it's like a $5,000 camera or like an $8,000 camera, depending on which one you go with. For just a black and white camera, that's expensive. So this is kind of like a nice little alternative to that. It's a nice little alternative for people that want to shoot like part-time black and white or want a dedicated part-time black and white camera. And that's how I use this most of the time. Again, I set it inside the camera. I set that filter to high contrast black and white so I can see it in real time. I shoot in RAW, and it's my dedicated black and white camera. I have fun with it. Sometimes I put this camera away, the Leica, and I take this out when I want to shoot black and white. Sure, I can still convert my Leica images to black and white, and that's fine, but I just kind of like to see it in real time, and I like the look that it gives me. Also, another thing, this camera really does come in handy when I want that like extra level of blending in, when I really want to hide, when I really don't want to look like a photographer. This is kind of the perfect camera for that. I can shoot without looking like a photographer. I can shoot without people even know I'm shooting. You can kind of cover this camera and shoot without people knowing. And I dig that. And now also sometimes with the M10D, I mean, this is very niche here because like not a lot of people use this M10D, but I don't think it's just a perfect camera for M10D users, but it's like really good for us because every once in a while you need a screen. Sometimes you're shooting, like I might shoot macro on this, just get like a close shot of someone's eye or a detail. And for this, I'll be able to see the focus on the screen. I can check, or just an emergency or really tricky lighting situation, I can kind of test with this. So it does come in handy in that way, but Again, I just love it because dedicated black and white camera, it's really inconspicuous. I can hide it really well. Again, sometimes if I'm shooting in a shady neighborhood or I'm doing kind of like undercover work or that kind of story, or I just don't want to be seen as a photographer, I want to blend in more, I want to shoot from the hip or sneak off some little cheeky little shots there, as the British say, this is kind of the perfect camera for that. So it's like a kind of a utility camera. It does many, many things. It's kind of the perfect backup camera to my Leica M10D. Okay, a couple other small things. These aren't as sexy. I know I should have like ended with the camera stuff, but I wanted to start with that because I know you guys are interested in camera stuff probably more than my little extras, but these are important too. These are little things I keep in my bag. As far as bags, let me get into that. I'm using right now, I use different bags for different situations. Like sometimes I want to go out and shoot with just one camera and no bag. Often I want to go out with a small bag that kind of fits my Leica aesthetic and fits that size and doesn't really look like a camera bag. Sometimes I just want a bag that fits exactly my camera and that's it, because I might be on my motorcycle and I'm just going out to shoot for a couple hours, and if like bad weather comes up or I just need to like hide my camera for a bit, then it's nice to have that little bag. So yeah, if I'm just going out for a little bit with my motorcycle, I might take one of my smaller Wotancraft bags, but if I'm going out for like a full day or a full like afternoon shooting or morning into afternoon, I'm gonna take a proper bag. But again, I don't want that bag to really look like a camera bag. I wanna blend in a little bit better. But I'm also into style too. Like I like aesthetic and style. That's why I like Wotancraft bags. I love this bag. This is the Wotancraft Scout bag. I really dig this thing. It's a nice size, nice little accents, built really nicely. It doesn't necessarily look like a camera bag. I can also fit my laptop in here if I want. It's got this nice little opening here. It's for your laptop. It's got sort of an accordion style opening, so if you want to like add more stuff, you can. But it's kind of simple just to put your camera in here, a couple lenses, a couple little extra things like memory cards and some of the other things I'm going to show you. And again, I feel like it just fits well with the Leica aesthetic, and that kind of stuff is important to me. If style's not important to you, then that's fine too. Like I would go with, you could get something a lot cheaper. You could go with ballistic nylon. It's very durable, but I have a thing when I go. I want to have a little bit of style going on. I like the style, I like the aesthetic of my Leica. I want a bag to match that. And a lot of the Wotancraft bags do, especially this one. This is their new Scout bag. Again, nice bag overall, very comfortable. Nice little accents here. I love the metal buttons, YKK zippers. Nice comfortable strap. Again, doesn't necessarily look like a camera bag. Looks more like a messenger bag, but I can keep everything I need in it, and it's not taking up too much space, and it's not weighing too much as well. So overall, I just dig it. Again, I'm a Wotancraft ambassador. I do work with them. If you're interested in this bag, I'll put a link in the description box below, but that's an affiliate link. Again, I understand if you're like, well, you work with them, that's why you're promoting this bag. I started using their bags years before I had any sort of affiliation with them because I just like their bags. I like that they're stylish, and I like that they're comfortable. So I like the way they're built. They're built really nicely. I mean, this is like this scratch-resistant abrasion canvas. It's just really nice. Feels really nice in the hand. It looks even nicer in person. So a couple little extra things I take with me depending on where I'm shooting, but like let's say I'm in a new city and I'm out for the day. I'm gonna take the full bag and I'm gonna explore and I'm gonna head out first thing in the morning. And often if I'm at a hotel, if I'm leaving at like 4:30 to get out there for sunrise, which I like to do, I want to start really early, then I'm gonna want to take coffee out with me because I'm gonna want to have coffee first thing in the morning. And I don't like to kind of do it in my room. I like to like kind of wake up, walk around, then have coffee, but most places aren't open at 5 a.m. So I take a little thermos here. It's kind of like the size of a lens. It's a small thermos, and I use my hotel coffee machine if it has one, and I'll just make a couple shots. I'll stick it in here, use this throughout the day, and once I finish the coffee, maybe I'll fill it with water. Or, if my room doesn't have an espresso maker or something like that, I'll just buy a coffee the day before, an iced coffee if I'm in a hot place, and I'll leave it in my hotel fridge, and it fits in one of the little lens slots there. And since I'm not shooting with a lot of lenses, like I said, I'm only shooting with my 35. I have those other lenses, but I'm not taking them out for street photography because I like that simplicity of just that one lens, which I talked about already. But this is sort of my second lens. This is my little coffee container. It fits in one of those little padded lens slots, easy to access, and it provides me with the caffeine buzz that I need. So this one here is made by Leica, I don't know. I mean, it's just some random brand I found in Vietnam. Any smaller thermal one that just makes sure that they seal nicely, because that's like the last thing you want. Something like this spilling into your camera gear, that would be a mess. So just find a good one that seals properly, test it a little bit, do a little shake test, a little move around test, a little screw test. That sounds kind of gross, but you know what I mean. A couple other things. Again, when I'm wandering the city, I'm going to shoot in good light, and then I'm probably going to take a break, and then I'm going to have my coffee, and then I'm probably going to go out in some bad light and still see what I can get, and then take another break. And then lunchtime, I'm sitting outside. Again, that's where this camera comes in handy, a little Ricoh, because I might just be sitting at a little cafe, shooting with people passing by, playing around with just like what I see as I see it. And then later on in the day, I usually like have a beer in the afternoon or drink in the afternoon, early evening, and then go back out and shoot for sunset. And then I typically travel with a book with me, whether that's an e-reader, a Kindle, or just like an actual physical book. set in the country that I'm in if I'm traveling. I always like that. Maybe it seems like a little cliche, but I like a book set in the location I'm in. It kind of brings me there. It opens up my eyes to stuff. It kind of like sets the mood for me, and I don't know. I dig that. So I usually pick a book set in that country, start reading a couple days before I go there, and try to finish it while I'm there. So I'll take breaks at cafes, take breaks at bars and things like that, and just kind of read in the afternoon. Another thing I bring with me is notebooks. You can see here I got my moleskin notebooks here. I like these little red ones. They pop out nicely. And I just use these for, if I'm on assignment, I use these for taking notes for my captions. If I'm just shooting for myself, again, like I'm wandering a city, I just use these to take notes about what I photographed, why, some thoughts I might have. You know, I often get ideas when I'm shooting for projects or concepts, or just maybe like a new way I want to compose my image, or a new way I want to like expose my image, or things like that. So I just like take a little notebook and jot things down on the fly. I like the physical part of that when I go out and shoot. I feel like if I write it, I remember it and it sticks in my head rather than taking notes on my phone. Another thing I take with me, I don't have it right now, but I kind of need it right now because I'm sweating in my house. I always take a bandana and just stuff that in one of the pockets, because I use that bandana to either like wipe my camera off, wipe my face off, or wipe anything off. Use your imagination, but it's just nice to have a little bandana or handkerchief with you. Stuff that in your pocket. It comes in handy. Again, lens cloth, sweat cloth. And then on top of that, for pens, I'm not like a fancy pen guy. I usually just get like a Muji pen, like a little ballpoint pen. I don't have anything fancy with me, so I just usually just take one of those with me. And the last thing I take with me is this little Leatherman tool. I just like having these with me. You know, it has a little bit of everything. It's got a knife, screwdriver, bottle opener, pliers, things like that. You just never know when you're gonna need a tool. The knife, you never know when you're gonna need protection, or you're just gonna need to cut something. It's nice to have this. It's got scissors on it. It doesn't weigh a ton, sits in my bag. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's sort of my setup. You know, I don't like to take headphones with me all the time because like I want to really embrace the city. I used to wear headphones off when I shoot, but now I try not to. I want to listen. I want to hear. I want to be like present when I'm shooting. So that's it for my gear. It's not a ton of stuff. Again, I like to keep it pretty simple with my street photography. Some people keep it even more simple. They go out with just one camera, one lens. But this is more of my kit if I'm going to make kind of a full day out of it. And I like to do that. I like to go out and not come home until the evening. I like that. I like to like not take that break in the afternoon and come back to my hotel. If I can make a full day and wander around to different areas. Again, I take breaks in the afternoon, have a coffee and look around, but I'm still trying to see things. Like in the afternoon when I'm looking around, I'm trying to see like, oh, what will this be like later in the day? What will this be like at sunset? What kind of scenes can I find here? But that's my setup. That's my gear. Again, gear is not going to make you better. Gear is not going to get you through a slump. Gear is not going to change your photography. Figure out what works for your style of shooting, how you like to approach things, what you're trying to find in your photography, and what fits for your budget. Again, this is not the kit that works for everyone. It just works for me. This is my setup. Share with me your setup in the comments section. I'd love to see it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to have a wonderful day.